What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure most of you have heard, if you're into bowling, that Mr. Mo Pinel died yesterday. He died on March 9th at 8:45 a.m. He contracted COVID and he couldn't fight it off. I mean that's why did it have to be him, man? This guy, bowling today would not be where it is now without that guy right there. He is a legend. This guy knows more about bowling balls than and he's taking it with him. He knows more than anyone on this planet about bowling balls than anybody. He understands the physics, the math, just everything, man. This guy, he's gonna be missed. This man is going to be missed dearly. I'm gonna miss Mo Monday and all the sciencey stuff he does. Like, it's crazy. This one's for you, Mo. Cheers. Rest in peace. So, I don't want this to be like a sad thing, you know. This guy, he's like the nicest guy on the face of the planet. I never personally met him, and I'm sad that I didn't have the chance, honestly. But I did email him a few times with questions regarding drilling a bowling ball for a two-handed bowler, because back when I started, there was nothing out there. And he saw that, and he jumped ahead of the curve and started putting stuff out there. And I was like, oh wow, this guy's awesome. So I just wanted to make a quick video on, you know, some of the things that I learned from this guy. Maybe show you a few things. And just have this be a, you know, thank you, Mr. Mo Pinel, for your service. And you will be missed dearly. And that's him right there. He worked for Radical Bowling Technologies, which is a sub-company of Brunswick. And I have owned a few of their balls. I had the Katana Legend Pearl, which was a really, really nice ball. It was really strong. It was the way I had it drilled was a little bit stronger than my Trident, and it was kind of like unusable for me, so I gave it to somebody who could use it. But I still have one. This is my spare ball. I love this ball. I really do. And there's Mr. Mo Pinel right there on the ball. So, and there's Radical. So this is just a plastic. There's no fancy cover stock technology. There's not really, I think there's a tiny little pancake weight block at the top, but it's not designed to make this hook at all. I mean, this thing, you can get right around it and it just goes straight, which is nice. You don't have to change the way you release the ball. Just aim it and let it go, and it just. But I try to keep it polished. And if this video is a little bit long, just deal with it. So the one problem I find with these plastic balls, it's not really a problem, but your track gets burnt into the ball. You see that? So it needs to be polished from time to time. But anyway, this right here. This is my, it needs a little help. And maybe I'll redo it soon. But this is my bowling Bible. And probably like 80% of this came from him. Right there. It's a little disorganized right now, but it's basically my drilling guide and just my cheat sheet to anything bowling ball related. So on the front, obviously I've scratched in some of my layouts that I have on different balls. I learned how to find my axis tilt through Mr. Mo. And I didn't really understand how important it was until, I did it. I have, there's some more bowling balls. And I have other people's, like, grip sizes. My dad's crazy, weird layout. I got my sister's. And then a couple other people from the bowling alley. Will. If you're watching, Will, I still got your layout, bro. And grip sizes, so whenever he's like, oh, I got a new ball, can you drill it out for me? Yeah. So, I found a few old, like really old videos of Mo Pinel going over balance holes. And it was some really, really interesting stuff. But now that they, like, shut down the whole balance hole thing and you have to plug them and you can't use them anymore, this is where he leads the industry. He got ahead of the curve and started coming out with new products like... Actually, let's go and look. So this is the first ball that he came out with. And this was to deal with the whole balance hole problem. And in his words, he said, there's symmetric, there's asymmetric, and then there's strong asymmetric. And that's what he did here. He made a really, really strong asymmetric ball that gives you more layout options to make the ball do what you want it to do and not have a balance hole. But anyways, let's keep flipping through the Bible here. At one point, Mr. Mo had me go through and I wrote down all of my RGs and differentials for all my balls, which has not been updated. I really need to get on top of this, man. I'm slacking in the bowling Bible department. And here's the meat and potatoes, man. This is what... These are the most important things that I learned from Mr. Mo. Is how to find my positive axis point, which is huge, and my axis tilt. And here's the big one. And look at that. A radical look into no thumb drill patterns. Oh my God, Mo. You have no idea how much this helped. So PAPs are measured from the center of the finger holes, which is considered the center of the grip by the USB-C. All static weights are measured from that spot. Drill the finger holes at least 3.5 inches deep to remove enough mass to help stabilize the RG axis. Now, my cousin has sent me a few bowling balls that he had drilled at pro shops. Pro shops. And the finger holes, you know, a grip is about what, 2 inches? Yeah, they're about 2 inches deep. They drilled 2 finger holes, and they weren't even deep enough to take a rubber grip, so they had to cut the rubber grip to get it in there. And I was like, dude, no wonder you're having a problem. Like, this isn't even right. So I popped out his grips, I stuck the drill bit in, and I plunged it down to 3.5 inches deep, put new grips in, gave it back, and he said it was like a new ball. So, like, this kind of information is good. If you don't understand the science behind why you do certain things, then maybe you shouldn't do it. And I don't claim to be an expert, and I don't fully understand it. And that's why I leaned on Mr. Mo. Hey, help me out. And so far, I haven't done half bad. I mean, he goes into depth here of short pin layouts and strong layouts, what he recommends for two-handed bowlers, what he does not recommend for two-handed bowlers. But this is just a general guideline. And I tried to stick to this guideline at one point, but then I started figuring out it depends on the ball. Because certain balls, I can have a 3.5 inch pin layout on it, and it works beautifully for me. Mostly those are light oil balls. When I get into like medium oil or heavy oil or solids, yeah, I have to dial the layout back a little bit to get it to work for me, but for light oil, and especially super clean cover stocks, heavier layouts aren't really a problem. And the last thing that I learned from Mr. Mo, which was like awesome, was when I rolled my bowling ball down the lane, like pretty much all the time, I could hear the finger holes. So my track went over my finger holes. So I could hear thump, 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 all the way down the lane. And that has to mess with ball motion. I mean, I don't care. That has to mess with it somehow. Make you more inconsistent in some way because you're skipping that part. So I watched his video on Mo Mondays about performance fitting. And I still don't understand all of it. And sometimes I have to go back and brush up to like understand it again before I do it. And that's usually what I do is I go back, watch the video again, brush up, then drill the ball. But this is why I made this cheat sheet, so I don't have to do that all the time. So this is the guide that comes with my bowling ball drilling jig. And this is where you start. You put you line up the finger holes straight across, left to right, and then you have your jig facing straight up with the arrow pointing up. And that gives you a 1/2 inch. Yeah, because I have a 1/2 inch plate. 1/2 inch plate. So this would be 90 degrees. And with my pitch plate, it would take this hole and pitch it out this way a 1/2 inch. And then when you flip it around and do the other one, it pitches the other one out the other way a 1/2 inch. Because if you drilled both both holes exactly at 90 degrees, they would meet in the middle, and that's a problem. You don't ever want to meet holes in the middle, because then your bowling ball will fall apart. And it's not right anyway. But when I started off with this, straight across, which is a good starting point, I noticed that I was getting that thump, 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 thump. So I watched his Mo Monday, and he was talking about how to change the pitches, left, forward, reverse, all of that. And he was like, okay, so if you're a high track bowler and you're coming over your finger holes, you need to go more this way and more that way. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at the chart and I'm like, oh, he said to go left and forward. That's exactly what he said in the video. And it's right there on the sheet. So I put a little pen mark on it. The next time I drill the ball, I took that center line and I just twisted the ball until it met that line. And obviously that's for left finger. That's for right finger. And then thumb, if you do the thumb, that's that one, you just turn straight with the arrow. But so I did that layout, and see how it's a little different on this one. It's up this way instead of down this way, but I put that layout on a few balls, and I started rolling the ball, and the science behind it is you want one finger to come out before the other finger does. Like, when you're rolling the ball, I don't know which finger it is. See, I have to brush up, but you want one of your fingers to come out a millisecond before your other finger does. That's what gives it that perfect roll. And you can bash me in the comments, I don't care. I'm telling you, I'm not brushed up right now, alright? I just figured out what worked for me. I marked it down, and it's been working. So finding your positive access point, I think this is another, and here's to you, Mo, again. I still can't believe he's gone, like it hasn't set in yet. Alright, probably the most important thing I found from him was finding your positive access point. And yeah, you can get the armadillo, which is like this times 2, and all you do is place it on the ball, and you find, and there's these, see those rings? You line it up the best you can with your track, and there's a little spot on the end where you just put a dot, and there it is, But it's like $100 for a piece of plastic. I mean, come on, people. So this one's from Ebonite. Ball track analyzer. And positive axis locator. So it's not as nice as the armadillo, but it works. And the instructions, I have them in here somewhere, but I tried reading them and it's not exactly clear and it didn't really work. So the way I found was once you roll the ball, and you really have to get on a fresh pattern with a ball that will show your track. You're going to get that one. The very first oil ring is going to be the heaviest one, the thickest oil line, and it's going to be the first one closest to your pin. And then what you want to do, and this is the way I found that this thing works. Is you go and try see, I just marked a, and see, I could be wrong here, but I'm almost positive. I lined up, and it was like this last line for me. I lined it up with my positive, my first oil ring, and then I went like, and I marked the line here. Then I turned the ball 180 degrees, and I lined it back up on that same oil ring, and I marked it again, and I got an X. So then I took a white piece of tape and I stuck it right on that X. And then I grabbed the ball and I rolled it down the lane. And the second it comes off your hand, and it's easier to spot with a low flaring ball. If you have a high flaring ball, it's really difficult to pinpoint. So you kind of want like a, your lowest flaring, solid-ish, something that's going to show oil kind of ball. I mean, you can do it with pearls. It's just you really have to get in there and look. But you put the piece of tape there and you roll it down the lane. And the second it comes off your hand, that little piece of tape should almost look like it's standing still. And as it goes down the lane, then it starts wobbling, and then it goes through the pins. But if you have a high flaring ball, it might start wobbling right off your hand, like immediately. And at some point, I am going to go to the bowling alley, and we're going to find my positive access point, because they say it does change a little bit over time. So it's always good to check, periodically, especially if you're newer, like I am. It's good to check once in a while, just to make sure. So, at some point in the future, I am going to bring this. We're going to bring a ball, probably the solid, and we'll go roll a ball, see the oil ring, find the positive access point, set up the camera, put a piece of tape, and roll it. And sometimes a few times I have been off a little bit, and I had to adjust it or do it over again to get it nailed. So, but it doesn't take that long. All right, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna lay out this here Supra so I can re-drill it and go test it out again. This will actually be the first time I've done this. Plugging a ball, re-drilling it, and going to test the same ball. So this is going to be very interesting, because I had a 6-inch pin on this. And you can see there was the layout. And this is a very long core. And it just scooted down the lane, and the head, it just was like nothing in the back. So we're going to give her a nice layout this time and see what happens. And I was going to give this away, but didn't seem like either A, I don't have enough viewers, or B, no one was really interested. So I'm always giving balls away. There'll probably be another very soon, so there will be more balls to give away. So anyway, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but right there is the little dot. It's a symmetric ball. See that little dot? they find the center of gravity on a ball, and they punch the little thing. That's the heaviest spot on this ball. So this is asymmetric. Asymmetric would have another PSA, preferred spin axis, but this does not. So you go from the... Let me reset up here. Let me bring in... So thank you, Mr. Mo, for teaching me how to do this. I much appreciate it. So you go from the CG to the pin in the middle. And you make a line with a double-sided super short grease pencil. Then put the ProSec back up onto the pin. The CG's here now. There's the CG. So you go like this. Right on the middle of the pin again. Right on 0. And then line up that line with the spline on your ProSec. And for this one, I'm gonna go right in the middle on both measurements. And if you want to know what the measurements do, you can look those up. I think the bigger the number, the later. The lower the number, the earlier. From what I understand, I could be wrong. Let's go with we'll do like a 45, and then the second one we'll do a 50. So you mark the 45, back to the pin, through the 45. Now you put the 0 right on that intersecting point. Right on the intersecting point there, following the line you just made. And now we get to select the pin out. So I'm going to go with a 3.5. So we're coming down 3.5. And we make a line there. And you don't have to be like spot on. Just, I mean, look how big that line is. It's like 1/8 of an inch. It's not finished carpentry here. So now, you flip the ProSec around, not like last time. Last time it was like this, coming towards you. Now you made that second line, you're flipping it the other way, away from you. Same thing, line up on that little pin out line you made. Right there, line up the spline with your line. We're not marking on the left side, we're marking on the right. And we're going to go with a 50. Now connect those two. And this is your VAL, or your vertical axis line. So right there is your positive axis point. That's where it's going to be on the ball. So you need to know what your PAP is. So mine is 5 3/8 over by 1.5 inches down. So for me to get that on here, because it's 1.5 inches down, I have to go 1.5 inches up. 1.5 up. And then we're going to square off of that line. Let's see if I can get this good on the camera. So we went from here 1.5 inches up. So now we need to go square off of this VAL, vertical axis line. We need to go this way. This is so hard to do on camera and like do it nice. Right about there. Scratch a line. Now so we went, my PAP is 1.5 inches down, so we went 1.5 inches up so that we get that 1.5 inches down, like 5 3/8 over, 1.5 inches down. There's the PAP. So we're going in reverse. 1.5 inches up, 5 3/8 over. 0 on that spot. 5 3/8. Right there. So what I like to do for making drilling easier is bring this center line across a little further. Square off of that. And then do your center of your grip. And then you need 1/4 inch for a bridge. So resharpen, there we go. 1/8. Oh, and it broke. These things are so touchy, you have to push very softly. Oh my god. 1/8. 1/8. Approximately. You can adjust in the drilling process. And then make 2 smaller lines. As parallel as possible. There's my 2 new finger holes, right there. And there's the pin. For me personally, I have found with the pin placement, because I'm two-handed, it looks nothing, absolutely nothing like the people that are one-handed. So don't expect the pin to be in the same place as a one-handed bowler, because it's not going to be. Because to them, this is the center of their grip, and their fingers are up here, and their thumbs down here. So that's almost a pin down for them. But for me, it's a pin up, or pin sideways. But for two-handers, I have found the further this pin is, don't worry about if it's left or this way or that way. From this line right here, the further it is up here, the sharper the break point is. Like, it skids and it snaps. The lower it is, the closer it is to this line, the smoother the ball is. That's just something that I've noticed personally. So I started editing the video and I realized I'm a right-handed bowler. I don't know if I stated that or not. I bowl with my right hand. So I don't want to be like hand prejudiced. You know, because they'll start coming after you for that. That'll be the next thing that'll get you kicked off YouTube. But anyways, if you noticed, on the layout process, we're basically making an N. Up, to the right a little, up. So for left-handers, it's the same thing. The same process, but in reverse. A backwards N. So my negative axis point is your positive axis point, and your positive axis point is my negative axis point. That's it, really. I just wanted to put that in there just in case, because there might be a few lefties, and I really wish I was one of you, because you got that whole side of the land to yourself, man. It must be nice. Yeah, so that's it. I can't drill it tonight. All my tools and batteries are at work. But I just wanted to put out some sort of, like, thank you to Mr. Mo Pinel, and, you know, rest in peace. And, you know, I can't imagine what his family's going through right now. He was the nicest guy on the face of the planet, man. He really was. He was a great guy. It is so sad to see him go, and I'm going to miss his stuff. I really am. Oh my God, and I've never even met the guy, and I'm like, ah. Like, it hurts, man, because that's like somebody I followed, man. This is somebody I looked up to, like somebody, like, it's just such a good guy. So that's it. Mr. Mo, rest in peace, and please look down upon us and put your bowling wisdom into someone else so it can be brought out to the world. Please. You are a legend, and we will miss you dearly. I know I will. Make sure you go out and look up Mo Pinel, and if you don't know him already, go out and look him up. Look up some of the videos that he's done. You don't have to be, it's not just for two-handers. I mean, mostly his stuff was for one-handed bowlers. Just anything, bowling balls, cores, cover stocks, and all the technology behind it. Still, go look up his stuff. This guy is brilliant. And that's it for now. So make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, kick the bell in the nuts. You know the deal. And I'll see you guys Sunday.